Dis-moi pour qui Vaudouisant yo divisé, religion mal documentée, et rituel yo aussi varié. Dis-moi pour qui yo dit c'est religion fait noir, nous dit c'est religion la paix, mais n'utiliser pour faire mon paix. Colon yo te reconnaître Vodou c'est fausse nous. Yo fait mauvais campagne contre religion nous. Yo impose un sac pas assemblé avec nous. Pour yo faire une vindou pour contrôler nous.
C'est force nous, c'est croyance nous, pas quitter le tomber, c'est l'essence nous, ou qu'on doit pas qu'aimer, mais faut respecter.
Dis-moi pour qui, yo marché dit nous c'est Satan, pas effort pour nous défendre, pour sa femme ta gain tête ensemble.
Dis-moi pour qui Vodou a pas ouvri l'école, chaque serviteur a gué pour col, c'est catholique toujours idole.
Volontaire reconnaître Vodou, c'est fausse nous.
Aïe 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 aïe.
C'est mauvais campagne contre religion nous.
Aïe 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 aïe.
Yo impose un sac, pas assemblé avec nous.
Aïe 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 aïe.
Pour contrôler nous. Fuck nous, ini nous.
Aïe 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 aïe, comme c'est force nous,
c'est croyance nous.
pas quitter le tomber, c'est l'essence nous, ou qu'on doit pas qu'aimer, mais faut respecter.
Dis-moi pour qui, ou comme un beau toujours dans le ciel, y'en a dit l'autre mot, mais coup fiel. Unification nous essentielle.
Dis-moi pour qui nous tout pas qu'à kembe même livre, nous pas kembe yon marche à suivre, la couille tombe en dérive.
Nous prendre en chimère, sorti d'Aromène, dans toute route n'a présité, prière Guinée.
Esprit au pas de la guerre, non chimère, nous c'est petite l'Afrique guinéenne, louga ou t'es emporté par européen.
AYIBOBO, awo shonago, awo, 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 awo shonago, c'est Vodou nous. AYIBOBO, awo shonago, awo, 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 awo shonago, c'est Vodou nous. Rentre dans le fou. Oh, 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 oh. Awo, 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 awo shonago, c'est Vodou nous. Rentre dans le fou. Oh, 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 oh. Awo, 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 awo shonago, c'est Vodou nous. Entraînant fort.
Misguided, savior or menace? Let's check this out.
In the south of Haiti, Government Commissioner Jean-Ernest Muscadin has become wildly popular thanks to his zero-tolerance approach to fighting armed gangs that have overrun other parts of the country. Today, gangs control more than 90% of the capital, Port-au-Prince, and are pushing deeper into rural areas, in a widening campaign of killing and sexual violence that has uprooted more than 1.4 million people. The United Nations and Haitian rights groups say Muscadin has executed dozens of alleged gang members across the South without due process, degrading whatever's left of the rule of law. The rogue commissioner maintains he's never taken an innocent life, and his legions of supporters at home and in the diaspora insist his hardline stance is necessary to keep the gangs out of the South. With elections set to take place in August, Many Haitians want Muscadin to run for president. Some even believe he could win.
This video, and what I'm about to say next, deserves a much longer take. A short 3 minutes isn't enough time. But certainly was part of the camp of Muscadin that, as someone who's in Paya, in his district of Anipe, who benefits from the security that Muscadin has provided in his camp. And I've provided support, helped provide support for him and what he's doing. But recent events that has taken the life of someone very close to me, known for years. I still don't know the full story, but this person was in Port-au-Prince and was killed by the police. This person was a individual who was innocent, hardworking man, had a child, married, and was killed by the police while leaving his home. Changed my view of a state being run where the police kill without due process, without the recourse of courts. Muscadin has, as you heard, over 20 plus folks who never went to court and directly or indirectly were killed by forces. A country cannot function without rule of law. And as desperate as Haitians as we are for law and order, it cannot be at the cost of our civil liberties. I owe you guys a longer video. It will be coming. I just want to know, I wanted to share my stance on this. What's your take? Do you agree with Muscadin? Or do you believe rule of law should rule, especially in a situation where you're facing monsters? Do you want a state that functions equally as a monster? I'm in the comments.
I know the North is more racist because in the North they split up white folks. They got Italian neighborhoods, Irish neighborhoods. I live in a Greek neighborhood. You know what Irish and Italian and Greek is in the South? White! Nobody has time to break down your brand of whiteness, okay? I don't care what flag your Caucasian flies under, Brandon. Go vote and sit the hell down. What do you want from me?
Burkina Faso, Niger, Mali, I don't care who you are. What Nigeria is buying now, you people have never seen. You have never seen it. Just one. You say you have captured one and you have kept it, right? Nigeria is now showing you that they just bought another one that is far better, far stronger, far bigger, more expensive than what you currently have. So Nigeria secures the largest ever military aircraft. The largest ever military aircraft acquisition in West Africa. You understand? They call it the 24M34 346 F8 jets. You understand? Not the one, 24M 346 F8 jets. Nigeria brought them, bam! They land for down. The largest, bro. This thing costs money. And this thing can wipe out anybody. You see why Burkina Faso was already panicking in the first place? Why they say, oh, they are keeping those Nigeria jets? Because just that one fighter jet, just that one that Burkina Faso has, is so powerful that that thing flying over Burkina Faso, just flying over, it doesn't need to land though, just flying over Burkina Faso, it will dictate everything in Burkina Faso. I mean, that Nigeria jet where they hold. That's why they are scared now, because that jet is capable of exposing everything in Burkina Faso. Wherever their military camps are, wherever they hide weapons, wherever everything is going on in Burkina Faso, they can fish it out.
So, ladies and gentlemen, as was expected, the good old Mr. Trump added an additional 15 countries to the travel ban list 5 of the countries have complete travel ban, which means no entry into the United States, no visa issuance, no U.S. citizenship if you're already here and applying for that, among some other restrictions. And the 15 countries with partial restrictions, they said that those that already have a visa or green card holders will not be affected, and visa holders such as diplomats and athletes, they will be exempt from the partial travel ban. And please forgive me if I mispronounce any of these countries' names, but the 5 countries with the complete or total travel ban are Burkina Faso, Mali, Niger, South Sudan, and Syria, along with people with Palestinian Authority issued travel documents. And the partial restricted countries are now Angola, Antigua and Barbuda, Benin, Ivory Coast, Dominica, not Dominican Republic, Dominica, Gabon, Gambia, Malawi, Nigeria, Senegal, Tanzania, Tonga, Zambia, Zimbabwe, and Mauritania.
Ah yes, Francis Bacon, the Elizabethan philosopher cop cosplaying as the father of science, while acting like the entire global history of empiricism began the moment he put on a ruffled collar. This is the man who strutted around in gold embroidery and a hat shaped like a stovepipe, claiming he invented the scientific method, while civilizations from the Yoruba to the Maya to the scholars of Timbuktu had been testing, falsifying, measuring, refining and documenting knowledge long before England stopped believing in witches. He looks like he's holding that little slip of paper because it's the receipt for every experiment he stole and renamed. Bacon didn't develop empiricism. He bureaucratized it, turning wisdom traditions into data, rituals into experiments, and communal knowledge into something that required European approval to count as truth. The man was basically a colonial lab coat with a legal degree. His whole aesthetic screams, I wrote about nature once but haven't touched grass since birth. The oversized cloak, the rigid pose, the frills. This is not a scientist. This is a man trying very hard to look important, while repackaging global methodologies into a London-friendly product. Bacon wasn't the father of science. He was the middle manager of stolen epistemology, the British HR department for knowledge extraction. And let's not forget he was also the Attorney General. He could prosecute you for stealing a loaf of bread in the morning and then steal your entire cosmology by lunchtime. Cope.
Honor and respect, honor and respect, honor and respect. Divine all blessed greetings and salutations. It is another edition of Revolutionary Hoodoo, New Orleans Voodoo Secrets and Recipes. Voodoo Hoodoo 101, powered, produced, promoted, sponsored, and supported by NOIVD, New Orleans International Voodoo Day. New Orleans' annual International Voodoo Day serves as a beacon for Voodoo practitioners, artists, and enthusiasts, connecting us to our ancestors, our heritage, and each other. Through our collective efforts, we aim to revitalize and promote Voodoo traditions in New Orleans and beyond, create a vibrant, inclusive, and supportive community, inspire personal transformation, creativity, and social change to honor the past, embrace the present, and manifest a brighter future. The power and wisdom of Voodoo can contribute to a world that is more just, more compassionate, and enchanting, where Voodoo and African diasporic spiritual traditions are valued and integrated into society, promoting spiritual growth, cultural understanding, community empowerment, artistic expression, and social justice. We continue to invite your support, participation, donation, sponsorship, promotion by visiting us at www.voodooday.org, www.voodooday.org, voodooday.org, for continuing updates and information about this powerful and continue to grow event. We now have 7 countries that will be represented with us this coming 3rd annual International New Orleans Voodoo Day on May 23rd and May 24th, Saturday and Sunday, May 23rd and May 24th, 2026. And we're certainly thankful for your continued support and participation of this live 9 p.m. U.S. Central Standard Time, Monday through Friday podcast on a social media platform near you or by way of the QR code link that you see displayed in the upper right corner of your screen. And we want to thank our beloved and faithfully committed community member, Daniel Neal, for your continued support and participation. Thank you for coming out and joining us tonight for our monthly new moon ritual ceremony. And greetings to you, Diego Plaze 10. Thank you so much for joining us. We certainly do appreciate you and everyone in Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, YouTube, Twitter, X. We certainly appreciate your continued support. And I will be unmuting my beloved and faithfully committed sister, wife, co-host, panelist, the Queen Mother, Sister Toni Martinez. She will be with me momentarily. Elder Reggie is probably listening. He is in transit. And the rest of our panelists may very well be preoccupied this. I'm going to call it Holiday Friday, as we go into various holiday festivities for a diversity of cultures, practices, religions, and traditions. I tend to acknowledge, for the most part, Kwanzaa, beginning the day after Christmas and culminating on New Year's Day. But I certainly do acknowledge the holiday season, and prayerfully you all are having a wonderful holiday season in spite of the chaotic climate that we tend to be existing in. Wars and rumors of wars, certainly all the problematic drama here in America, in North America, the United States. And so we had a very powerful retributive magic ceremony on tonight, our new moon ritual ceremony. And before I begin our discussion on tonight, I just want to take the time to invite you and remind you to participate in our monthly new moon ceremonies. In January, the new moon ritual prayer and application ceremony will occur on the new moon, Sunday, January 18th, 2026, that should say 2026, at 6:30 p.m. in the sign of Capricorn at 710 Clouet Street. That is Clouet Gardens for locals who are familiar. 710 Clouet Street in the Bywater. And it is a ritual, spiritual warfare gathering. We did a podcast a few nights ago on Juju, then on Grigri. Then we did a discussion on retributive magic and how to properly discard ritual offerings and ritual organic items and material. But tonight, again, to acknowledge the powerful ritual ceremony that we had tonight. And again, I want to thank everyone who came out and participated in the Clouet Garden. We want to discuss again tonight retributive magic in African traditional religions. In West and Central Africa, retributive magic was rooted in the belief that spirits and ancestors and deities, such as the Orisha or Vodou, could intervene to punish injustice. Its purpose was not evil sorcery, but a communal safeguard used to protect against theft, betrayal, witchcraft, or abuses of power. And its mechanisms utilized rituals, charms, invocations called upon spiritual forces to return harm to its source or rebalance disruptive harmony. Carried in memory and practice through the transatlantic slave trade, The enslaved Africans brought these traditions across the Atlantic, often hidden within Christian forms to avoid persecution. And through adaptation, retributive magic became a tool of resistance, protecting enslaved communities, punishing cruel overseers, and maintaining dignity under oppression. And in secret societies, like in Cuba, Brazil, and Haiti, societies like Candomblé, Terios, or voodoo secret societies preserve these practices, sometimes fueling revolts. In the Americas, in South America, particularly in Brazil, Candomblé retributive rites invoked orishas to punish injustice or illness causing spirits. And utilized as a survival strategy, magic became both defensive and retaliatory, protecting enslaved people from spiritual and social harm. In the Caribbean, in Haiti, voodoo, used as retributive magic, was central to revolutionary struggle. Vodou ceremonies invoke spirits to punish oppressors and empower fighters. In Jamaica, Obia and Mayao, Obia was feared for its retaliatory power, often outlawed by colonial governments. Here in North America, conjure and hoodoo in the U.S. South, enslaved Africans developed hoodoo as a system of charms, powders, and rituals. Retributive magic targeted abusive masters or revival practitioners, or rival practitioners, rival practitioners. Community injustice. Hoodoo maintained the African principle that wrongdoing must be answered spiritually, even when legal justice was denied. So here in New Orleans, in Louisiana voodoo, in New Orleans voodoo, retributive magic became a defining feature of voodoo in New Orleans. Practitioners used gree bags, candles, juju, and ritual petitions to punish betrayal or protect against enemies. The globally renowned Marie Laveau and others, famous leaders balanced healing with retribution, embodying the dual role of Vodou as both medicine and justice. Cultural blending of Catholic saints, African spirits, and indigenous influences merged, but the core ATR, Aboriginal African traditional religious principles of balance through retribution, remained intact. In essence, retributive magic in ATR is a spiritual technology of justice. From Africa to the Americas, it preserved dignity, punished injustice, and empowered communities denied legal or social recourse. And again, in my own personal walk and experience, I would say beginning really with childhood, the first story, the first telling, the first legend that I had privy to was of my great uncle Nephus in Louise, Mississippi, who was said to have been blinded by a woman practicing some form of hoodoo or voodoo, and applied a concoction of some sort to the inside of his hat. And he went back out into the cotton fields, and sweat ran down into his eyes, and in his early late teens, younger 20s, I believe he was. He went blind and then spent the rest of his life blind. He lived in a nice, little house over the bayou in Louise, Mississippi, and he operated a candy store, much like you would probably see in a local, neighborhood in a town near you. And he knew every item in the store. He was able to count his money, though he was blind. And certainly, kids would play jokes and play tricks from time to time, and would always get caught. But that was the first legend storytelling that I can recall as young as 3 or 4 years old of some form of retributive magic. I then went on, in later years through my teens and into my 20s to sort of play around with the voodoo as many of you do. You read books and you're exposed to people, places, things, videos, and you start mixing up things. And I did a few rituals that really came to be very powerful. So much so that they scared me, frightened me, sort of checked me early on about playing around with spirituality, religion, spiritual practice, and tradition in general, and the seriousness and severity of the simplest of ritual to the greatest of ritual. And as I asked my beloved Queen Mother, Sister Toni Martinez, to unmute and come on in, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I think to some degree you show a great deal of that reverence in the 30 years or so I've known you. You respect the voodoo, as it were. You are knowledgeable and always reading and learning and evolving in your awareness. But I've never known you to want to quickly, jump into giving readings or offering services to people or even doing advanced practices, on your own without calling me, or somebody.
Nope, 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 nope. One of my greatest fears with that, and I guess it come from my mom, who I learned basically almost everything about, New Orleans hoodoo, Southern hoodoo here in Louisiana, is to open up a gate and let something in that cannot be controlled. I don't do it. I don't do it. I don't do it. I protect myself as I saw my mother protect our house. I've taught it to my daughters, even my sons. They know people who have been around me enough, like know the abilities I have. Naturally, I have some natural abilities that I never tried to heighten or anything. I just accept them as for where they are. But people come to me and ask me a lot of questions, and they'll ask, what should they do? And I try to tell them, but then nobody wants to actually do it themselves. I give them all the ingredients, but they don't want to bake the cake. They still want me to bake the cake. And I've done that a couple of times, but it's been years. I did that one time for my second mother-in-law. When my second husband was dealing with a woman who they came to believe had put a spell on him, and she wanted me to remove it. And I was like, well, I can tell you what you could do. And then she come with all the heen and hawing. So I said, okay, I'll just go ahead on and do it. And apparently it worked, because a couple of days later, he come running from the lady. I mean, running out the house that he shared with the lady and never looked back. I don't know if my mother-in-law told him what was done, but I know I didn't tell him what was done. But no, I've never, ever wanted to go any further. I'll like me and you have talked about certain cases, and I've given my input, but it's not one of the things I don't want to give reading. So I've given readings, and they are very exhausting. I don't see how you could do it unless I know you're on a different level for me. But for me, they totally exhaust me for like days.
Oh, yeah.
For like days. Yes. And I did them far apart from each other. And I'm like, no, this is not something I want to do on a regular, because the days after, it's so tiring and so mentally and physically exhausting. You was mentioning about the new moon ritual tonight, but we also have something else going on in the heavens that I really haven't heard anybody talking about, and that's the 31 Atlas comet that we have tonight. It started last night entering our solar system, and it's only the third interstellar object ever detected by astronomers in our solar system. They don't know where it came from. They don't know what it'll do. They say it's no threat to Earth, but it's going to be 168 million miles from the planet. It's moving away from the sun. And anything that's moving away from the sun and the moon, it's got to be affecting our planet. If it's just, the tides, the waterways, maybe even the animals, but it's going to be at its peak at 1 a.m. this morning.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be at its peak at 1 a.m. this morning. But no,
Yeah.
beloved,
Brother Joshua and I both tend to be hypersensitive to astrological weather. He might even be more so than me to some degree. He saw something, passing through the sky, I believe yesterday, that he thought was a shooting star or a comet or something, out there. I think every time they sort of breach that membrane, for lack of scientific terminology, between our atmosphere and going into outer space, even when they launch satellites, I tend to feel something, have some reaction to something, can pick up some sort of shift in energy and frequency. Even as children, my sister Wapani and I, the old TV sets, I guess you would call them analog TVs, we could actually hear and perceive that frequency traveling through the air. And not just in our house, but someone could turn their TV on next door or across the street. We'd hear a high pitched frequency, very akin to what you might hear as a ringing or a buzzing in your ear. Some of you very well may have experienced it, particularly those of us born younger than the 80s. I would say
yeah.
those of us born in the 50s and 60s and maybe even the 70s. There's a frequency when you turn that TV on and it's warming up, and even after you would turn it off, that frequency would linger for a minute, and we were very, very sensitive to it. So go ahead.
They say this come from another star system, and they've been tracking this thing since July of this year. This comet 31 Atlas, and they say we never gonna see it again. I mean, you don't know what it is. You only know it come from another star system. So how could you rightfully say, to me, that we will never see it again? It's too many unknowns about those type of things.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, okay. It always makes me think about those people with the Hale-Bopp comet that said the spaceship was coming to pick them up and they all committed suicide. And well, I'm sorry, I can't say that. But
well, this ain't TikTok. You good.
Oh,
This
okay.
you too.
Okay. And all of those people killed themselves believing that, this thing was so unique that it was actually hiding a spaceship that was coming to take them away. And I'm sitting up here wondering, since July, has some people said this is our prophecy, it's here, because they're really not saying anything too much about it to me, on the news or anything. But I just hope nobody's out there thinking those same kind of thoughts and do nothing drastic. But I know it's going to have an effect on our atmosphere, on something on this planet is going to affect.
Well, my prayer certainly would be the same, that there isn't some off balance cult or something out there that's latching on to certain events. Mental health is real, and the unfortunate reality today, the wine has been mixed with so much water, and you have a whole generation now that don't believe science, don't believe history, don't believe the paperwork, don't trust the people who drew up the paperwork, and so they're just out there, no pun intended, drifting in space in terms of what's real or not. And again, back in my youth, back when I, had hopes of going to college and getting a degree in psychology and becoming some form of psychologist, spirit dropped into my consciousness about what I deem to be spiritual psychology, and sort of the lack or absence of that in the presence of science-based, medicine-based, pharmacologically based, and therapeutic-based industrial mental health, and that many people, particularly in what we are calling this, age of Aquarius, have been exposed to these higher frequencies, these changes and these shifts of consciousness. And if you shift unnaturally or as a result of trauma, or even I would say without some degree of guidance and mentorship, and then you are of a weaker constitution, perhaps, you can really risk going into space and not coming back. You can really risk developing conditions that might mimic various quote unquote, societal mental health diagnoses, but could very well be a response to varying things, playing around with magic without understanding, being exposed to certain degrees of knowledge and information, and then not knowing what to do with that information, how to process that information.
And go ahead.
No, I was just agreeing with you. So I pray the same, that people aren't, latching on to these astrological events or astronomical events and political events that are happening all around us, and it's not taking them, to a crazy place.
And I don't care what nobody say. What happens in the heavens affect us. Like, yes, on the full moon, a full moon does affect people. Now, it's not that werewolf effect I'm talking about, but it does do something that affects people at certain mental levels and make them go mental. I worked in a hospital, and believe me, the nurses, the doctors, and security, we watched the calendar so we would know what we was facing. And when the full moon came, they put extra security on because you get more mental cases in the hospital. I mean, severely mental cases that the police will bring in. Destructive mental that you need to straitjacket, and those that are already in the hospital for mental reasons, they act up really bad. So what goes on in the heavens does affect. I've known this for years. I've watched it for years. But what shocked me is that the nurses and the doctors watched it.
Yeah,
Also,
my mother's a retired educator, elementary school educator. And many of you know she's an evangelical Christian, but she noted it and took notice that the kids absolutely acted different during the cycle of the full moon. I think
yes,
there's also a connection sort of between the pooling of the water and the fluids of the earth, and the body. We certainly connected, that pooling of the fluids in the water and the sea to the woman's monthly cycle. But men's bodies have a degree of water and blood and fluid in it as well. And I believe all fluids are affected in some way by this monthly 28-day cycle. So there's
cycle.
definitely something to it.
Yes, yes. Like I say, they don't go full werewolf and all of that, but they be just as dangerous, some of them, as what you would see on TV. I mean, serious mental stuff. I mean, where they send people flying through the air trying to hold them down and get them strapped. to the point
Yes,
where I didn't want to work in the hospital no more. I did everything I could to get out of the hospital for that very fact. You know, for the very fact of what happens with the full moon. You know, they want you to be in the hospital, but they don't want you to have no gun. And that's one of the reasons. That's one of the reasons why. Unless you're in a state facility, the private facilities don't want you to have a gun. And that's one of the reasons why, because people that come in there could grab the gun from you. You know, but it's definitely, I will be up for 1 o'clock. I want to see if, you know, I notice anything different, you know, any dogs barking for no reason, because we do have several dogs in the neighborhood that's outside. And just seeing how I feel, if my hair gonna stand up on end.
Yes, indeed.
You know, I'm serious. My scalp is crawling. As we speaking, it's crawling, and I'm scratching my head. My scalp is crawling. But Divine Prince, I think at this stage in my life, I'm just gonna stay where I'm at as far as going any deeper until voodoo, because that's something I will not play with. Like I said, I've always had a fear, and a lot of people, I believe, have done that, being trying to do stuff from a book. I do believe people have let loose things into our communities unknowingly. You know, in some communities, in some certain areas, why is it more this in that area and that in that area? And that was one of my fears of, you know, I don't want to do that. I don't want to be responsible for that. You know, letting loose a poltergeist or something. I don't play with Ouija boards, would not allow them in my house. Ouija boards, do not allow them in my house, nowhere around. Nope. They ain't gonna get it from me. They ain't gonna get it from me.
And I want to take the time to thank our Facebook listeners and audience from my page, my profile, your profile, perhaps Elder Reggie's, our Shrine of the White Cloth profile, our Facebook groups, etc. Thank you for listening and participating from LinkedIn, certainly our YouTube audience, Twitter X audience, and we're certainly appreciative of our IG audience. And I want to take the time to show appreciation to Lori Boudin, Simply Latanya, Abulawe, Apostle Hudson, 111 Cali 888, Fifi Kamuti, IG Prez 1, Powerful 144. I am Shakira, Little Spuddy joined us. Ms. Seabean joined us. Ice Cube 21, Ajala Gibson, Ms. Edwards, thank you so much for joining. West Bank 4, Love My New Orleans. Alpha Nunez 7, No Fear Allowed, and Big Feng Shui. We certainly do thank you and appreciate you for listening and coming through. And we invite you to join us again on Monday night at 9 p.m. U.S. Central Standard Time on a platform near you or by way of the QR code in the upper right corner of your screen. I also want to take the time to invite you to come out to our community temple, La Source Haitian 4 and Peristyle, located at 3319 Rosalie Alley, New Orleans, Louisiana. At 6:30 p.m. this Saturday, we will be honoring and celebrating and feeding the Petro Loa. We will be conducting flaming bath ceremonies, and we certainly appreciate your visitation and participation. We just ask that you show respect and that you come on in and be a part of the group in the community. And we also want to invite you to participate in the Christmas Eve Wednesday bonfires on the levee Wednesday, the 24th of December, there will be bonfires, a tradition here in New Orleans. I believe it goes back maybe 200 years, maybe longer. I'm not sure. But we certainly appreciate your visitorship and support of the bonfires on the levee. And our next new moon ritual application and prayer ceremony and the first of the new year will occur on Sunday, January 18th, 2025 at 6:30 p.m. in the sign of Capricorn at 710 Clouet Street. We know that as Clouet Gardens, 710 Clouet Street, Clouet Gardens, and it is a ritual, spiritual warfare gathering. And again, thank you so much, Daniel Neal, Elder Reggie, and the many others who came out and joined and participated with us tonight as we continue to bind the devil, if you were, keep our foot on the neck and the head of those who would otherwise seek to oppress, dominate, and destroy us and civil, peaceful society. And again, I am certainly thankful and appreciative of everyone's nightly participation. And happy holidays to you and yours as we move into this holiday weekend and upcoming holiday week. And we look forward to sitting here with you again on Monday night at 9 p.m. U.S. Central Standard Time. Remembering that all is truly and indeed a blessing. AYIBOBO, AYIBOBO, AYIBOBO.
Good night, everyone.
Good night, good night. And in Yoruba, Odabo.
Allow me to show you something.
They say I'm crazy and that might be true. I got this white in my DNA, yet I'm coming for you. It's time we turn the table, strip these motherfuckers on you. I wanna see you hanging from trees. It's time you pay for your dirt and your showtime. You created the monster, you created the beast. Now all this savagery you just gon' reap. I'm coming home, daddy, to the plantation, and I'm taking the lives of everybody, including the children, on some Nat Turner. Oh, do you hear that sound? It's about to go down. Unleash the beast, we about to tear this motherfucker down. Do you hear that sound? It's about to go down. Unleash the beast, we about to tear this motherfucker down. I met my girl Harriet at the gate. If you wanna know how she doing, yeah, she's straight. But she had one question: when we gon' get up? All that talking tough, yeah, we don't walk it tough. She got it locked and loaded, got that piece up on her side. She looked me in my eyes and said, "Meet you ready to ride?" Moving forward, you gotta use both eyes. Watch your front and watch your back. Keep your hands up on your gas. Do you hear that sound? It's about to go down. Unleash the beast, we about to tear this motherfucker down. Do you hear that sound? It's about to go down. Unleash the beast, we about to tear this motherfucker down. He sit at the table, but he don't order no bacon. He greet me in those words, assalamu alaikum. Got them glasses on his face and them waves in his head. He go by the name of Detroit Red. He looks me in my eye and says, you only get one try. Know that your biggest opposition will come from the inside. I know you wanna love them all, but don't even try, because they'll smile up in your face while plotting your demise. Do you hear that sound? It's about to go down. Unleash the beast, we about to tear this motherfucker down. Do you hear that sound? It's about to go down. Unleash the beast, we about to tear this motherfucker down.